can't see the face right now, but at least the color looks decent. We're going to take this Infinus and cut it here, and here, and here, and here. You know, like all of that. We're going to cut it with our Dremel, snaky Dremel. And then we're going to do the other side. First, we're going to take and we're going to gut the Infinus. Well, more than we already have. So, we'll just show you what we've done so far. Is after we spin this around, we've got, I took everything out of here, except for the trigger and the rev switch. That's our magazine release. Over here you've got the useless mag lock and the motor braking magazine lock. Here's the red electronic trigger safety switch. There's an orange deal and the white bits inside of here that are part of a trigger lock mechanism that makes it so you can't pull the trigger unless a magazine is inserted. And then you've got, you know, rev button and fire button, which you would need, you know, if you're going to use the stock electronics. This one's getting heavily modified. Probably new motor and new motors, possibly new flywheels, definitely new motors, and new pusher motor, wherever that one is. I think is down in here in this thing, which might not be held in with anything. No, it's held in by the whole mechanism. You'll notice the sun bleaching on this one because somebody left it outside, even though it's a pretty spendy blaster. So let's get you just a more up close look at that. Actually, that lens looks a bit hazy. Give me a second. There you go. That must be much better. Yep, it is. Spooky ghost hand. Anyways. Let's see, what else? Battery tray, we took the bits out of it for now. In a minute here, we'll go on Amazon and order what we need for back here, and then out of darts and Foam Blast. Probably Foam Blast because they're closer and the shipping's faster in my particular location. Also got that handy Fuzzy Walrus Patreon discount. No, I can't share that with you. And besides that, I literally can't share that with you. But I've also sworn an oath of secrecy on it. So yeah, this one with the yellow wires, I have in my other Infinus, I lost the spring for this, so I just took the lock out, and in my testing, it physically does nothing. But your Infinus might, you know, be properly programmed or whatever, so you may want to leave it in, but I can't. I also stole the spring in this one for the rev switch spring, which we won't need once we put some upgraded motors in this thing anyhow. So that'll be interesting. Let's see, I'll only need the 2 of those and then the one I need for the Jeep, because that's got a thing that uses one of them as well. These red wires, I think this is a normally closed, or normally open switch, which means there's no current or no electricity going through it. But let's run a quick continuity test and see if it is in fact a normally open or normally closed switch. Now don't let the complexity of this particular multimeter scare you. It's actually a pretty basic device. Currently I've got it set to, you know, beep when it finds 2 parts that are connected to each other. This will tell me if I need to jumper these wires or if I should just cut them off at the board. Well, no contact until I push the switch. Which means in order to make certain things fire inside this blaster, when you cut these red wires off, you'll need to solder the ends of them together. Just turn that off quick. And I plan to isolate the flywheels and the pusher from the brain of this. So that I'll still be able to use the automatic rotation mechanism, but still, you know, get high performance out of my flywheels and pusher. thinking either just the pusher or just the flywheels I'm going to attach to a dial, so I can dial in either rate of fire or FPS. I think I'll dial in rate of fire. I think that makes the most sense. So I'll attach my pusher motor to a PDW. Is that what they're called? I don't know. I'll go grab it quick. This thing from Out of Dark, which for some reason is vacuum sealed, and that I can't actually use for the blaster I wanted it for because it doesn't fit with the battery inside. Like I'd need a smaller battery to make space management difference. That was for the 3S Tommy 20 because I wanted to lower its rate of fire to make it more practical, but now I can't, so it just kind of sits there and is all sad. Because it's too heavy to use as a secondary, which is the only role it's good for because it dumps darts too fast. Hopefully this one won't have that problem since I'll be able to adjust it. Probably mount it just here, if there's space enough for it. That's my plan. And then there'll be 2 batteries in here, one for the motors and pusher and one for the brain, which will be run off of a 6-volt battery. A big one. Like a LiPo kind of battery. We'll show you when we go onto the desktop in a bit. But for the moment, I'm going to take and gut this Infinus. You'll note how I already took out the orange bits up here. There's a couple of snaps like here, here, where else? Definitely there, and maybe 1 or 2 others, and then 3 screws on each side, and you just pop it out. Here, actually, those snaps should be on this side too. There, 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 there. You gotta push those back gently with a flathead screwdriver. It won't come super easy. You gotta kind of tweak and jiggle on it a little bit, and you gotta remember to take out the 3 screws. I think those are the posts for it. I could be mistaken. Pretty sure those are the ones. And that's sitting over there, and it's not important. This guy just lifts out. I don't think it's retained with any screws. Doesn't look like it. And then you've got your flywheel cage, which is held in with 4 screws, and is the same as a strife. This is a strife cage. I just had it in here. It fits perfectly. Like, I can show you. Although I don't have my bin for putting screws in. That's still over there, and I should grab that. You know, I was just reliving my childhood, rewatching Static Shock on Amazon, and, you know, taking apart an Infinus. And I figured, you know, some folks probably are a little afraid to take apart this blaster. And kind of for the right reason. If you're scared of electronics, like this one is a mag release switch that, like, goes to a motor braking circuit that's attached to this brain, which is also attached to the jam door, which then feeds back to the main brain over here. And like there's this magazine lock, or electronic trigger safety lock, which sits in here, and you gotta, you know, there's super glue or hot glue holding some of these in too. I don't like these triggers bleached. I'll probably have to sand them in order to get rid of that bleached look that they have. Yeah, and this stuff, and you know, I'll just cut these off of the brain because the brain won't care about, like, it'll load darts all day long, you know, and as long as it doesn't detect a dart, or if it does, or whatever the brain does, you know, depending on what the situation is, it'll either detect a dart or it won't, but it won't care if you're firing them or not. It's perfectly happy to, you know, just have you shove mags in here, load them, take the mag out, put in another empty, and load them through it. You could totally, like, gut here, take the handle off, and the battery pack, and, like, strap a LiPo to the front of this, and just use it as a dart or as a magazine reloader, you know, that you could, like, clip onto your belt or onto your chest rig or whatever you use. It's perfectly happy to do that. It doesn't care if you ever fire a single dart. But once it counts 25, unfortunately, it does not load 35-round magazines in my testing. It, like, gets mad if you try to shove a 26 dart in there. It's like, no! It's too much. Anyways, Infinus cage. Clearly a strife gauge. That's rewired. But stock motor, stock flywheels. Everything like that. And if we bend these wires into a position that the Infinus is happy with, we can take and just drop it into there. and boom. So it's like a strafe gauge, but with less stuff. It's also got this rubber gasket on here, which, to be honest, I don't think is super necessary. It kind of keeps darts from accidentally getting pushed in. Wow, the back end of this is way more open too. Like, this is way more efficient of a cage for the strafe. I might end up keeping this cage and just putting in larger flywheels if I can put them in without it rubbing on everything. Looks like it's clearance pretty well. Of course, we've got thermistors and things here and motor braking circuits. Bending power is the gray wire and the gray wire with white tracer, and this one's probably a motor braking circuit. No, it isn't. Wait, what? How does... No, never mind. All the motor braking is done in the brain box. Anyways, take out a strafe cage. Infinus cage set aside, and then there's all kinds of screws to remove these internals. I'm going to leave the triggers in here because I've kind of got that all isolated anyways. And they don't look like they're in my way for anything. But I do need my bin for screws. So much hair inside of this blaster that I got for free. You have to have the right connections to get an Infinus for free. Albeit it seemed broken, but actually it wasn't. Also, it had the 4 D-cell batteries in it, which, according to my multimeter, are still perfectly good. So I don't know why this thing was freed up the way it was. That the original owners no longer wanted it. Doesn't make any sense to me. But I guess it doesn't have to. Alright, I'm going to start with this screw. It came from right here. And then this screw, which is right here in this gearbox looking thing. And I'm setting those to the side where they won't cause me any headache, I hope. Now if I can remember which ones I have to remove and which ones I don't, that'll be swell. There's that one. I'll remove this one because it looks like it's in the way. And I'm trying to take out whatever's on top of this orange guy. Is there behind that flap? I don't think so. I'm trying to take out. Well, I think I have to take the top of this off. Inside of here are some spring-loaded something or other. I don't remember what it is exactly. But I know it does something important. Alright, that comes off. That screw was loose, but not out. Fascinating. My screwdriver isn't magnetic today. Not sure why. It's not a Thursday. Yeah. Okay, there's the hopper feeding system. Yeah, there's maybe over. Alright, there's our pusher, which I could probably isolate its circuit from the brain box, but I won't at the moment. We've got these flaps. Flappy flaps. Yes. And there's a screw right here by this downward pusher that might be holding this in yet. Not sure. Maybe. Let's try lifting it. And nothing. How overly integrated is anybody here? Apparently very integrated. Super duper integrated. I guess it doesn't much matter. I think the super duper brain box over here isn't held in with much, and it isn't. Alright, there's a pusher, brain box, which I guess I will have to separate from the battery tray for now. Which makes sense, I guess, because I'm not intending to maintain that. I need my cutters of some kind. Well, I don't have my super professional side cutters. I do have the ones that I don't need my teeth to open. But, you know, a second hand, I guess, also works. Because this one, you know, just opens so much easier. That other one, it's pinched somewhere it shouldn't be. Nope, off. Good boy. Well, it's a good thing I've got video record of how all this comes apart, because Otherwise, who knows if I'd remember properly, right? Alright, I'm going to take these two screws out of the bottom of this orange rail now. This is a big vise screw that requires a different screwdriver. And look at that, you can pull down this spring-loaded follower device. Yeah, I feel like if I get rid of this orange follower, I should just be able to pull out everything from inside of this Infinus. Then we can make our cuts, and then we can get to our shopping for parts. You know, besides the parts that I already have. Oops. Which, this is kind of a mod I was planning to do with my first Infinus. It's kind of hung up under our trigger area. Well, you know what? I'm not planning to use that little foot right there. And in fact, I don't think it ever did anything of any use anyhow, so let's just cut it out. Ah, it got me. Gently. Gently. There we go. Good boy. And there's that big old screw that for some reason is different than the others. And then there's a piece of Scotch tape holding down the wiring here. Which I'm pretty sure in my other Infinus, when I took it apart, there was even more Scotch tape. But there's this piece of Scotch tape right here that I'm going to completely remove because I want to. And let's not forget or break our little green LED friend here, who is a good thing. It's also red sometimes, and like orangish. It's multicolored anyhow. Whew. Alright. And once this guy is free, I guess maybe I'll, you know, show off this wiring a touch a bit. Come on now, you. I don't want to damage you. There you go. Good boy. Just let go of that hot glue. It's not helping you. And that's the entire circuits of an Infinus. And normally you would have to take out that screw, and that screw, and lift this area out as well. But I already did that earlier. And of course, take your batteries out before you take apart your Infinus. All gutted. And yes, the black here, and the black in the grip, and the gray in the grip, and the orange here, and the orange up here in here are all separate pieces. But I don't need to separate all of these separate pieces, just these ones. Let me set this aside. Here, hang on to that for me, would you? Good boy. Alright, so mag loader, flywheels, feeder, brain, trigger controls, dart pusher. Yeah, that's all of that. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and ask, and I'll try to answer them. We're eliminating this and this from the brain circuit. Also these. Also these. Oh, that just bypasses this and goes right to the main brain circuit. Perfect. Beautiful, really. That shouldn't matter. This one I gotta figure out what he does and figure out what this guy does so I can bypass them properly without actually having them in the blaster. Because the buttons that are the mag locks that these push on make putting a mag into the Infinus a lot harder than it should be. Just a lot harder. So where we left off was all of this. Got that hot glued.